Hey,
And
welcome to episode 105 of Awkwardly Awesome Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Freeman, and I need a drink of water. That was immensely awkward. So, anyway, I interview phenomenal guests on this show, and today I have the honor of talking with a return visitor, a return guest. The return guest is my business partner partner in creativity and and my business. Our mission is to get empowering messages out into the world, and I'm extremely glad he's agreed to be here because he's super busy. He's super brilliant, and oftentimes he is behind the scenes creating the brilliance, like the look of this podcast. Everything you use are the logos on the screen. They're all his. When I post on social media, he creates the memes. He edits the many of the things I post. He creates the videos. The list goes on and on and on. And even more than that, he Chris Taylor. We met in about 2015, and since then he's been the steadfast champion of the vision I have to get unique, empowering ideas out into the world, and not only that, he when he met me, I had a small vision and very little confidence that that it could be created. He has since the time I met him insisted on expanding the vision over and over again. And this is invaluable because we all need teams to create what we want to create in this life, or at least the vast majority of us do. I certainly do, and and Chris has been like an integral part of my team. And so please, without further ado, welcome the one and only Chris Taylor.
hello, hello. Hey, that was amazing intro there. That made me feel real special. Thank you.
Good. I am so glad you're here because, like, I'm the man. Yesterday, when I spoke to the nurses, to the school nurses, I was the man who got who got the applause, and I get to sign books and hand them out to people all over, and I get to interact with amazing people like sorry, like Dale Santel. But you're you're behind the scenes every step of the way. Like yesterday, I got the round of applause and part of that, a huge part of that was I had a beautiful PowerPoint and that inspire people, and you've had help have helped me so much over the years to hone my. I have a cat stuck in my throat to hone my message and have confidence in my message, and so you're a huge part of yesterday, even though you're not there. And this is the first time I've had the chance to tell you anything about it.
Yeah.
What's it
Thank
like to be behind the scenes, constantly creating and really working your tail off, but to not get the acclaim or
Well,
the
I mean,
acknowledgement?
there's a big part of it where this is kind of the profession I've chosen, for myself. I feel like as a you know as a graphic designer, as a web developer, as even a video editor or whatnot, a lot of different hats I've worn over the years, and including event coordination and things like that. Um,
Yeah.
so really, all of that in a way is, even though what you see, the end result of what you see is normally it's my work in some way, shape, or form. Um, you should be moved by it emotionally, you should be everything else, but you're not going to see my face attached to it. I'm not the one that's up there that's presenting and things like that. So part of it's just the nature of the beast, and what comes with the territory, which is, it is a very behind the scenes sort of job. And I think for me that's a big part of it too, is I've never, I mean, maybe when I was younger, I wanted to have the spotlight, but somewhere along the path as I got older, I don't have the same desire you do to stand on stage and speak, um, and be this, to have the spotlight on me. I much rather would like to be like in service and supporting you and other companies and people that I believe in order to get their message out and to help them, create stronger visuals, stronger brands, get better attention, and whatnot.
And this is why we make a good team. Like I am so energized by yesterday and just that the nurses got it and have all these new things to consider, and being up there and making jokes in the moment, having a plan, but then also being able to be spontaneous. I'm so just completely energized by that, and but at the same time, being behind the scenes must energize you.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's being able to bring these things all together. I love, the biggest thing I love from about my job is the the idea of bringing these things from total concept to reality, or completion in some way, shape, or form. And what I love about what we've done is we've built a whole brand out. We have a whole attack plan, if you will, of how we go about doing things with social media, with presentations like you talked about with the nurses. We've got PowerPoint slides and things and templates built up for pretty much every facet of our business. And it's exciting to be able to get there with a client, because that's when things are really rolling and really things are going on. Um, and yeah, so as far as the behind the scenes part of it, to me, it's not so much, I don't get excited necessarily being behind the scenes and never being seen. I get excited by um, actually creating that thing from nothing, and being there and kind of encouraging and helping to move the dial forward for the the important people that I work with.
It really, what you're saying really reminds me of a ripple effect. Like what you do ripples out into to what I do and what the other people you're supposed to do, and it allows them to ripple the energy to affect more people, and then those people can ripple the energy to affect more, and it can keep going on and on.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a big part of it, right? That's a big part of putting anything out, because as we've had some videos that we've made, and it's like, oh man, this feels like it's gonna be a huge one, and you put it out and
It's go,
we get two
we're like,
views,
it's
and
going to go viral, viral, viral. Or at least I am.
and then other times we'll put something out there that it's like, oh, this just needs to go out, and we might not spend as much time on it, but we still, I mean, I feel like everything that goes out there, there's thought and consideration, and we normally, bounce something back and forth, and fine tune where we can. But some of the stuff that we put out there, it's like, oh, well, let's just get this out there and see what happens, and those are the ones that kind of take off. So you do your best to put yourself in that position, for success, but you can't always know what's going to be the thing and what's going to guarantee it. And that's why with you and together, we've made such a big um, commitment to basically putting out quality content consistently. Because if we only waited and we put out one video or one big piece of content once every 3 months, no one's going
By
to see
the way, folks, we've tried this strategy in the past, and
it.
we're evolving.
Yeah, I mean, it took a long time to kind of get to that point where we could be like, all right, well, what's we call it our social media strategy, but really it's not so much a strategy as it is just making sure that we're developing quality content that's going out regularly. And then it's tied in so many different ways. It's tied into our newsletter. It's tied into, you know, I mean, all the social media points back to the website, and the whole goal of it is to get you more recognized and seen, and to build you up to be a bigger social presence. And then hopefully, besides just getting jobs, speaking engagements and things like that, word of mouth wise, and through your connections, people contact us through seeing these other things, and being inspired by it. And we have so many different levels of content we're putting out. We put out that was the big thing that kind of inspired it all to begin with, was in getting to know you. There's so many dimensions to who you are. And
Mm.
because you yourself, Jason Freeman, are the brand, it wasn't just, you're not just Jason Freeman, the speaker, because that's, I mean, how many speakers are there? There's just so much to you. You love to photograph, you're a photographer, you're extremely funny. And that's one side that I really wanted to bring out, because anyone who has seen you speak in person knows, how much humor you bring to your act, and how much you get the audience laughing and engaged. So, that was kind of the goal with all. You're a brilliant writer. You have your master's in poetry. You write beautiful poems. So it's just, and how do we bring all these things together in a way that feeds it? And so that's what we do. We shoot that out into the world, and we've really taken a lot of time to give voice to those things. And then, I what I love the most is someone can come to your page and just engage with one aspect of that if they want to, or they can let that one aspect connect them to the next aspect to the next, and all of a sudden they kind of choose their level of engagement with you. And whether it's coming to you to be inspired, whether it's coming to you to you know just be a fan, whether it's coming to you to refer you on or to, hire you to speak at an event. There's just, everyone can kind of choose that level of engagement.
Can you see my screen now?
I can see us in two parts.
But you can't see my actual screen.
No.
Okay, we know the feature needs more work. So
Are you?
I was going to bring up the website which you were kind of talking about, and please, people watching, since I can't bring it up, you can go to it at jasonwfreeman.com. And the reason I would invite you to go to it in this case is because I have a lot of ideas and creativity, as Chris said, but he was able to translate all of that into a beautiful flowing website that conveys my who I am with pride and confidence. And when we started working together, I did not have a website like that. Remember how it looked when we first met?
Yeah, somewhere there, I still have the original screenshots of it. It just,
Yeah.
I mean, like, to be honest, like many speakers, many people starting out, you've got to start somewhere, and it was definitely, a starting point. But I saw my first exposure to you was actually, I had met you a couple times, kind of in, we were in the same room together, but my first real exposure to you was having the pleasure of seeing you speak, and you really moved me to my core, and it was just an amazing presentation you gave, and it was at that point I just, I think I went up to you, and I think, yeah, I do remember going up to you and saying how powerful it was, but I don't know if I truly conveyed how powerful it was at that moment. But from there, it kind of made me, more interested in seeing, what you're doing, and is there a way I can help this guy? And I remember going to your site and being like, oh, this stuff that's up right now, it's not doing any favors to this powerful, this powerhouse I saw on stage. And, even though it takes some time to do and to build all this out, I feel like everything we've put in is step by step getting more and more recognition to, or at least backing up the visuals for who you are and what you bring to the stage.
I think it's hard for a lot of people, including me, to know how to visually present something, because we have so many ideas that we want to get out there, or we think might be interesting, and if we put those together in a combination that isn't pleasing to the eye, or that seems sporadic, it can, like you're saying, not do us any favors.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest, and one of the biggest things that a lot of it comes from experience. A lot of it comes from paying attention. It's just, if you're not telling the audience, what you want, if you're not giving them a directive of how, to use what you're giving them, and you're just throwing everything at them at once, then it's going to be total chaos and confusion. And the second you confuse someone, the second they go somewhere else, you don't get a whole lot of time. So that's been a real big clear thing, is to take all of these different aspects and make them very clear and very straightforward. And even with the website, if someone views the website, we have a lot going on the website, but we walk them through very smoothly and make things very clear and very easy to understand.
And what Debbie says hi. Debbie, I'm going to celebrate you in just a sec. And what's
I hope Debbie says hi.
oh yeah, oh yeah, nice, nice. I'm in keeping with the Halloween season.
Yeah.
So I'll show you out in a sec, Debbie. She says that user friendly website is amazing. Good job, guys.
Thank you very much, Debbie. I appreciate that.
And before Chris, I had a very unuser friendly website that was kind of chaotic. So we've come a long ways, my friend.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too with us, and the other advantage of working together, for so long on this stuff, and knowing the insides and outs of kind of your message and what you want to bring, out to the world, is that it's allowed us to basically understand nothing's static with this. Sometimes people hire me just to make a logo or do branding for them, and so I create that, hand it off, and then it's up to them to kind of keep the ball rolling and evolve it. But in our case, we've basically been evolving together, and so the website that's currently up now is probably the 5th or 6th version of it, because it has evolved as we've gone through things. The COVID and everything that forced so many things to kind of evolve, and it opened up a lot of doors for us that we hadn't really had time to explore. And as we've moved beyond that, we've kind of now started bringing back in these other elements combined with some of this stuff that we did. And it's just a constant evolution and constant tweaking of little things and trying to make things better and correcting the things that don't work, and really putting a lot of energy into the things that do.
I think Debbie, when I in terms of power of a brand, she has a very awesome podcast that I've been on. She's asked brilliant questions. It was just so fun to be on there and I love every conversation because it draws new things out of me and the other person. But I would imagine that behind the scenes to create the look and all the branding that she has now, it's taken some work and some trial and error. That's once a beautiful thing about a brand, and then also what people don't see that it takes time. Like I'm talking with you on an Apple computer now, and to me, Apple went so seamlessly as a brand, and but I don't see all the behind the scenes years and years of creating that thing that could run seamlessly.
Yeah, and Apple went through almost not existing before they existed. There was a lot that went on with with that brand. And the other thing is too is talking about behind the scenes. We just see the shiny iPhone that winds up in our hands, or we complain about it because it didn't change enough. But we don't see just the immense workforce behind that, the constant, the pressure of constantly creating something new, the constant pressure to evolve something that we rely on getting something new every 18 months. And yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's fun.
So, so one of the things, Debbie, one of the reasons I mention this is I know when I was just starting off, I would look at the people who were established and kind of think, oh, that must be easy to get the results they get, and if I just try a little harder, or if I just do the right combination of things, I will get those same results, and I should have them within 3 months or 6 months, or if it takes a really long time. But we're finding it takes patience and persistence
Yeah,
too.
persistence and consistency is a big part of it. And I think the other thing is, so long as you're entering an arena trying to be someone else, you're not going to be yourself. And so
Mm.
that's been,
As long as you're entering a arena and trying to be someone else, you're not going to be yourself.
mhm.
Say more about that.
So I mean, it's, we see this time and time again where somebody has a certain amount of success, and the steps that they took to get there, they can document or they can talk about. And a lot of
Mm.
times people try and take that and package it, but we're in a world that evolves at such a rate that there might be some steps, some crossover steps that could apply and work for you and everything else, but you can't necessarily take a step by step guide to have that and measure that same result. You can buy things, you can spend money on a certain amount of views and clicks and things like that. But then at the end of the day, how real is that? So sometimes people put so much emphasis on getting that exact result or that exact thing, where I think they forget that where they need to be putting the energy first and foremost is on themselves and what they're bringing out into the world. And I'm a firm believer that if you bring something, if you bring yourself into the world, if you bring your passion into it, if you bring your message into it, people are going to relate with that. So it might be a more grassroots approach, but you're going to have more dedicated following and you're going to have it for longer.
As you see, things are constantly evolving, so the steps are constantly changing, and also, like Debbie says, be yourself. And if you're truly yourself and offer your unique gifts to the world, why would the steps to doing that look exactly like someone else's steps to offering their unique gifts to the world? We can draw inspiration from each other and get maps, but at the end of the day, we kind of have to plot our own course and see what works with our unique talents and our unique voices and our unique stories.
Absolutely. I mean, and there's nothing wrong either with talking to people and co-creating with people and seeing where the crossovers might be. But as long as you keep that core to yourself, that as long as you understand that what's going to make people engage with you is who you are, not what how much you're like anybody else. So very much what Debbie's saying here.
So, speaking of things we've created, did we have that video somewhere, right?
Yeah, here, let me put that one up on my end, just because it seems like you might be having some bandwidth issues on your end with the share.
Yeah, I just for everyone, Chris just taught me how to close my apps on the computer today. So
it's it's all right. There's so much going.
it's all a learning process.
Yeah, there's so much constantly going on. I feel like I'm always, I feel like a grandma or a grandpa, having to catch up with technology as much as it changes constantly. And I find myself asking my kids a lot how to do things anymore because chances are they've already interacted with it before I have. But to dial things
So
back,
before you get to that, talk about teamwork and talk about behind the scenes. Debbie's show was produced by Lynn, and that was just so nice working with them, and so Lynn was the behind the scenes of that show, but then she has a show with a she has a bunch of shows, and I was on another one she has with a co-host, and and the just great thing. Thanks for all you both do, Debbie and Lynn, and they're both authors too. Just amazing people.
nice.
Teamwork makes the dream work. Nice.
Yes, indeed.
Speaking of teamwork making the dream work, are you ready to share?
Yeah, do you want to give a little background on what this is, or do we want to just share the video first?
Background would be good. So one of the struggles I've had as I've merged into business is understanding what I truly bring to the table as a speaker. Like I can see reactions in an audience and hear comments afterwards, but still articulating that as the person doing it has been kind of hard, or has been really hard, because it's like I don't know. I can see the result, but I don't know how to talk about what I do. So Chris has helped me with that, and then in this particular case, one of the major focuses is getting me speaking in schools. Why do we want to do that? We want to do that because being a young person is tough. Being a teacher is tough, and there's a lot of challenging conversations that that come with being a young person and being a teacher that sometimes seem so much easier to avoid than to articulate. So what I do is I come and speak, and I don't suggest specific perspectives to an audience. I give imperfect best as an example, but I don't tell the audience to adopt anything. But I suggest they consider what perspectives on the life are working and what aren't, and have those conversations. And as I tell my story, I I give them a language to discuss the story. See, I'm still stumbling over what would you add to that?
Well, what I would add to is just hearing you do it. It number one, it's difficult to talk about yourself. It's difficult to sell exactly what you're doing. But in all the conversations with you, I know that a big part of this campaign, so to speak, is these kids have gone through a rough time. A lot of them missed a year of in-person schooling. Um, and then forcing them to go back, it's the pressures of social media, just all the different pressures they have on themselves. Their pressures beyond what we faced, and we faced a lot. But in talking to you, we know that for you, seventh grade was a really big turning point in your life, and it fortunately it was a turning point. It almost it very well could have been the end of it, and instead it was when you came to understand how much you wanted to live and what you wanted to do, and it shifted your entire life focus. And I always think about, with your message and everything, it's like everything you say, it's so vital, and it all stems from this period. um, and how important would it have been if a speaker like you was up on stage and you reached yourself at that age? Would you have gone down that dark, would you have gotten to that dark place of hopelessness? um, had someone actually come and spoken, and you realize, like, I'm not alone in this. And I think that's a thing that we forget with kids is we like to think that, oh well, we've all been teenagers, we've all gone through it, we've all done this and that. But we also kind of forget some of the own struggles that we went through. Not all of ours are necessarily as severe as what you went through, but those little things, they all shape us, and we all could use that the message that you have. And I just feel like you do such a good job of getting through to kids, uh, through their heart. In general, you get through to your audience's heart. And once you get them to open their heart, it's like that's where the perspective shifts and everything else happens. But with kids especially, like, they're keeping so much inside. They're trying to control how much of themselves they allow to be seen, how much of themselves they keep hidden, because they want to present themselves as a facade and everything else, to fit in, to do everything else. And the thing with someone like you, when you bring the story that you bring, you break all that down because you go directly through it all and you hit them in their heart. And we've seen what happens time and time again, with these audiences. I mean, you had the one girl who didn't speak, who hadn't spoken in years, and she came up and spoke to you after the presentation. And I've seen video footage of lines of kids just lined up to shake your hand. Like, I had a lot of presentations in school, and I never went to meet the presenter afterwards. This is happening because you're breaking down all the barriers, and you're getting straight to their heart, and that's where you're exacting change. And you're letting them be seen, you're letting them understand they're not alone, and you're bringing a connection to everyone. You're helping them view their fellow students in a different light. And to me, bringing that power to a school is only going to be a positive thing. It's only going to help all the students. And to me, that's what's so important about focusing on this campaign, and focusing on speaking to students at this age, because they need it.
You mentioned if I had heard me at that age, what would have things been different? Um, and I think I might have still gotten fell way down, but I would have had more more tools, more stories of hope during that time, so I could navigate my way out easier.
Yeah. The tools are such a huge and important piece of the puzzle, as you know. And I know that you deliver so much. You deliver those in spades. Really, it's just there's so much that people can draw from, not just from your story, but from what you suggest and what you give them if they choose to accept it. Um, yeah, I don't know.
Should we just show the video?
Yeah, you ready now?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right.
I'm Jason Freeman.
I forgot I had a speech impediment. Around the time of fourth grade, I started looking around at the other kids and going, hey, wait a minute. Something here is not like the other things. Oh my gosh, it's me. I still went for it a little bit, you know. In sixth grade, I went out for the basketball team. I caught a lot of balls with my glasses, my forehead, my chest. I mean, basically, I was catching balls with everything but my hands. But really, on the inside, I longed to be part of the team.
And Jason gave his presentation today to 855 students, 5th and 6th graders, and they were incredible.
Fantastic presentation, really interactive, which we all know is really important when working with teenagers.
He really resonated with the students and with his candidness about his differences.
You may not have this funky voice, you may not have the coordination uniquenesses, but we all have something in our lives that we say, if only I was this way, if only I was this way. Have any of you ever experienced anything like that?
Did Julia talk to you?
I have it on video.
Never talks.
We are here to dance. We are here to be free. We are here to be us. It's time for us all to take responsibility for loving ourselves, loving the complete package.
He really hit home for a lot of kids.
A larger group than I've ever seen before kind of rushed the stage to introduce themselves, just to tell them how much of an impact that speech made on them.
Is it my turn now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yes, maybe you have differences, but you are more alike than you are different.
It was an excellent presentation and something that we can refer to and use all year long. Jason, thank you.
We have what it takes. Let's just love it now. Lynn says, totally love you and pounding on you still, even 12 years after meeting you for the first time. Thanks, Lynn. Well, we met through laughter yoga, I think. That's awesome. Thank you. So I flashed up the comment because it's dear to me, but also to keep from having to talk about the video, because when I see it, I don't know quite what to say. I'm so proud of it, and so proud of the way you created it and brought it to life, and I like being a central figure in it, but more than that, I hope this can get out to just kids all over the country, and to teachers, and I'm not sure, like with so many things in life, I'm not sure how to do that yet, but we're in the process of creating the answer.
Or it's that you do know how to do that. It's the whole persistence and patience part of it, and the consistency part of it. We have talk about behind the scenes. We have this whole approach we're working on with that video, and with you reaching out and contacting schools directly, getting your feelers out into who to speak to, who that's something that with me, as I create these things, I create the visuals, I help you tell your story, I do everything like that, but there's that next bridge, and that's what's so important on working together and finding ways to get out to people. And of course, there's also advertising and whatnot that comes into play with this. And we have all these different plates spinning on this one. But yeah, it's kind of, right now we're giving the audience a chance to see this thing and kind of telling them what our real goal is with this. And our goal is to get this particular video out there. And the purpose of this video is of course to deliver a little bit of a message that someone who sees it can use. And then of course it's also to help inspire and give you the authority, if you will, to possibly get you. I mean, ultimately the goal is to get you speaking on more school stages.
And the point of that is hard to sometimes remember when you're in the marketing world and want results. But the whole point of this is to put me in places where kids who are struggling with stuff, maybe a kid like in the one in the video who never talks, gets to see me and the message that comes through what I say and gets another way of thinking about that situation, or is hopefully more willing to open up to someone they trust and say, hey, things aren't going well. Help me through this.
Yep. Absolutely. I mean, that's also, a real big part of, sorry to shoot over here to Debbie's comment. So
yeah. This is interesting. I'm so glad you asked this.
So yeah, I was it depends, because that footage was taken from a few different places. Some of it, the testimonial videos, I believe,
might have been filmed by my iPhone. Probably.
Yeah, it might have been filmed by Jason's iPhone when people asked if they could give a testimonial based on his speech. There was one event that, yes, I ran the camera on. That one, that's one in front of the really large audience that we We used several places where he talks about catching basketballs with his face. And then the other one that we took a lot of footage from was actually, that was an audience that I was in. That was the audience I got to view Jason. It was before I was working directly with the people running the cameras and whatnot on that.
So that's the technical about filming, but would you describe a little of the magic about how you created this video? As videography is one of your many phenomenal skills. How did you take a ton of video content and create that few minutes, that thing that's under 3 minutes?
Yeah, I mean that's a big thing too. Is it's watching a lot of the different footage. It's knowing. Thank you so much.
But it's not just watching footage.
No, it's kind of knowing. It's knowing that that's what's interesting is we have all these different pieces of footage, right, and all this different stuff, and it's having that final vision, that end vision of where you want to go with it. You know, you kind of know what story you want to tell, you know, within the space that you have to tell it, and then it's trying to find that footage that's going to serve, you know, that story you're trying to tell or that message you're trying to tell, and you know, without forcing it, with letting it all be natural. And fortunately with you, like I said, I just know, I know you so well. I know what the goal is of these things. I know what we're trying to do. So I very clearly see what we want to create. And fortunately, we've had the footage there to be able to pull from and to really make it work. And part of the fun part is just kind of like creating a design. If I'm creating a static design, it's all the different parts that go into it that improve it and make it better. And that's exactly what I'm doing with editing as well. Is it's all the different parts that go into it and make it better. And then it's like, oh, maybe this works better here, or maybe this works better there. You know, and we've had those testimonial videos and forever, and we've been trying to figure out, like, how do we get these out there? Like, people need to see these. But we've also been very, you know, we want to be authentic with our marketing. We don't want to just be shoving ourselves down people's throats and saying, hey, look at me, hire me. So we didn't want to just put together a straight video testimonials that, again, no one's going to watch because they're going to get their own thing. It's like, how do
watch my 6 minutes of testimonials? Yay!
So it very much became, how do we create something that tells a story that can be inspiring on its own, but that also kind of helps to bring some of these testimonials in to again give some real experience and authority to you, because you have spoken at a ton of places, you've spoken at a ton of schools. You know, this isn't something that you're new to. It's just, how do we take where you are and expand that out? And so the video had to accomplish several things, and I think it does it well.
Just like I have trouble sometimes talking about the speaking I do. You're describing this very well, but and there's also a level of artistry in putting that all together that will be very hard for you to describe. What I'm trying to say is, what you did there is very, very hard to do, and yet you make it look easy in that video. Like, oh, I can just put a few video clips together, and voila! But no, it's like writing a poem only. Writing a great poem only with video instead of words is brilliant. What you did there.
Thank you very much. The only thing I can really say that adds to that, and a lot of artists, a lot of creatives will tell you, is it's hard to break down what exactly the process is or where the ideas come from or things. There's so much of it that just seems to move through us. You know, we're kind of I think creative people in general are a conduit to, creativity, to things that want to come out in the world. So I always consider myself very fortunate to, be able to, that my brain works like this, and that these things, that I have the abilities I have. And, of course, I always wish some of my abilities were stronger or greater, but I've learned over the years to just kind of trust a little more and what abilities I do have, and just trust whatever's coming through to kind of guide me and kind of get out of my own way. That's the best explanation of the process I can give, outside of just doing an immense amount of research and understanding, where you want to go with it.
And then doing it over and over and over again too, right?
Yeah. I mean, that consistency part is key to anything.
So I ask this at the end of every show, and so I don't want the show to be any different. But what does doing your imperfect best mean to you in the context of the conversation we've been having?
Well, let me think about this for a second, because I know I've given several answers to this at this point, but that's kind of the beauty of doing your imperfect best, is that it constantly kind of evolves as well.
I like that. Imperfect best is something that's evolving.
Yeah, because you're never staying, stagnant or static. You're constantly learning, you're constantly changing, and to me, yeah, the whole concept of imperfect best changes with you, because ultimately in the course of, if I were to dial it into kind of what we're talking about here, doing your imperfect best boils down to staying the course. It boils down to consistency. It boils down to every day that you wake up and you're going to go and do this, you have an option. You can half-ass it. You can just try and get through the day and be totally unsatisfied, or you can really make it a goal to get done what needs to get done, and to really commit to giving your all and giving your best to something. And that's something that we've talked about a lot too, is the imperfect part of imperfect best. A lot of people get confused with that, but we're not saying to be imperfect in giving we're saying to give your all, to give your best, but also understanding that within your best, there's going to be limitations, there's going to be imperfections, because there is no such thing as true perfection. You can have perfect moments, but there's no such thing as consistent perfectionism. So the best you can do is give your imperfect best. And to me, it's just having that understanding that, let me go out there, let me do the best I can, and also let me realize that if I catch myself throughout the day not giving my best or not doing my best, I can always recommit to doing my imperfect best. And getting back out there and doing it.
And I'm very glad I asked so many, even though we've been doing this and discussing this concept for years, there's so many gems in what you just said, including there's no such thing as consistent perfection. I don't know if I've ever heard it precisely that way before. That's well.
Thank you.
And I know like you're really busy, and people are lucky enough to find you business wise. They're really lucky. But is there a way for people to contact you if they're interested in finding out more about what you offer?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can certainly, probably the best way is just to go, through probably email, I would imagine would be the best. I
So remind. So
Yep.
Chris at creativebuild.com.
Let's do creativebeard79@gmail.
Creative.
Yeah. So the funny thing with the I think we've talked about this before, right?
Oh yeah.
The shoemaker doesn't have shoes or whatever. That whole thing. I mean, I've had iterations of websites and things up before, and I've pulled them down, and I've been very fortunate in the sense that there it is. I've been very fortunate in the sense that 100% of my business is referral based, so I haven't had to really.
Yeah,
go out.
your work speaks for itself, and people.
I hope it does. But I love what I do, and I always love taking on the challenge of learning something new and evolving it. And so eventually I'll get back to putting a website up there. I'm sure. I just knock on wood. It hasn't been.
And this is the last thing, but I want everyone to remember this about great behind the scenes people like you. They have so much going on in their lives and so much brilliance to share, including you. You have an amazing book that you eventually want to get out into the world. So I just want to celebrate that you have that within you, and you're writing that, and that is going to eventually, I envision be published.
Oh, thank you, brother. And you know what? I have to give you props too, because one thing that's absolutely true about you is that you are a huge fan of people, of everyone. I've never seen you not love somebody. You see the potential in people. You see people in a way that I don't think a lot of people in this world see them. And I think it's because of your ability to engage so directly with someone's heart. You're the real deal. You are so just authentically you. And when you shine that back on somebody, that you see something in them, it really is empowering, and it really is inspiring. And yeah, with this book thing, this book has been there, completed in my head for ages, but it's been about finding the time. It's been about this. It's been about that, and it's always been like a back burner thing. But you have inspired me so much, and the only reason I've put any words to paper, so to speak, within the last year or last couple of years has been because of your reminding and prompting. And I've fallen back into that place again where I'm so busy, and all these other things are important as well to upkeep, and I haven't been turning that attention on. So you just shining that light back on it again reminds me of how much I want this, and it inspires me to get that back on the agenda. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for those kind words, and we are all in the process of creating what we have to create, and bringing it out and more fully into the world. We both are, and everyone is. So thanks for being on this journey with me, my friend, and thanks, Debbie, for all your comments. And we had 2 Lyns on the podcast, and I'm saying 2 Lyns because I don't want to try and pronounce last names. And Dell came on, and I'm so appreciative of everyone who came on.
Yes, thank you, Debbie.
Thank you.
And thank you, Jason, and likewise. This is my absolute honor.
Thanks so much, my friend. I just so repeatedly inspired. Like Chris and I are communicating every week, text, email, sometimes phone calls, but we don't often enough get a chance to sit down and have an all-long conversation like this. I encourage you, make time to have conversations with the people around you. Make time to have conversations with the people you love, with your friends and with people you're just meeting, and ask them questions you're curious about. Ask them creative questions and see where the conversation goes. Thanks so much for tuning into Awkwardly Awesome Podcast. That was awkward. See you next week when, oh my gosh, Dr. Michael Mullen was my history Western Civ professor in college, and he's such a great guy, such a passionate student of history, and he also has just this remarkable hope for the future. I'm so excited to have a conversation with him and share with you. For now, have a great day. Talk to you next week.